Actually beg to differ with my friend, the senator from Arkansas. There clearly are inherent challenges in this, but I would make the case that I don't think we still, almost 10 years after the flash crash, fully appreciate what led to the flash crash, the ability of a series, and I don't think we're looking so much at the individual investors, we're looking at the ability to have market manipulation, oftentimes by a series of very sophisticated investors who may be operating across a whole series of exchanges simultaneously. So there are clearly risks, Mr. Chairman, in this, but to not have the ability to reconstruct in a kind of orderly fashion how these type of market manipulations could take place. And frankly, I think the technology's gotten even better in terms of manipulation. So I actually applaud Chairman Clayton. I think he has taken on this challenge. I think it's kind of crazy that it's taken us 9 years to get here. And I think there clearly are market forces and market participants who want to do everything possible to slow this process down because they don't want this consolidated audit trail. They don't want their activities demonstrated to the marketplace. Now, we're going to obviously continue, Ms. Boland, to kind of follow your efforts. I actually wish, and I think we can get to a good faith way to resolve some of these issues. I wish the SEC was here because I think the SEC, we need their voice in this hearing. I'd hope at some point, Mr. Chairman, you would consider bringing them into this discussion in a formal way so we can press them in particular. Mr. Simon, one of the first questions I've got for you is recognizing that the SROs are going to have this ability to access the database. Should we require the SROs some kind of formal explanation process of why they're requesting information? Wouldn't be an absolute guarantee, but it might, because one of the things I'm concerned about is not only the ability to be hacked into, but could the SROs access this information for their own financial interests? And can we put some kind of at least presumption that they have to give us an explanation why they're accessing the database?
Well, it's clear under the rule and the plan that the SROs can access this data only for regulatory purposes and only for their surveillance purposes. The SROs already have regulatory and surveillance programs in place that are subject to barriers from the business side of the organization, and those will remain in place, and those are subject to review not only by the SROs and their internal audit departments, but by the SEC and their inspections unit, and they're heavily regulated. And I think it's fair to say that the SROs operate with integrity in their regulatory system, and just shown by the consolidated audit trail that you have, well, you might have the 24 different SROs. They're effectively competitors with each other. They're acting cooperatively for the joint good of the industry in developing the consolidated audit trail. But Shelley and FINRA CAT are developing specific functions within the CAT system to oversee what the regulators are doing and what types of queries they're looking, and will have intelligence in the system to help ensure that they're being used for appropriate purposes. And perhaps you can talk to that for a second, Shelley.
Sure. So part of the security program is logging of all access, logging and review, both automated and manually, looking for atypical queries coming from a particular regulatory user. Also from an...
Should we ask that SRO to kind of give an explanation of why they're making this request? I'm not sure I agree 100%, but I'd ask you to consider it. I only got 38 seconds left. One of the things I've seen on the kind of SEC's amended 613 rule, that they can start to charge fines or expenses if the participants don't meet certain of the timelines on a going forward basis.
Right.
I do have concern that there are going to be folks in the market that will drag their feet because they don't want the cat. They're going to throw up a lot of concerns, and there are legitimate concerns about PII, but they're going to throw up a lot of smoke screens dragging their feet because they don't want this kind of exposure. How do we hold them accountable? you think the amended 613 rule does that?
I think that the Rule 613 does it. I think everybody is working cooperatively in order to build the CAT in a timely and efficient manner. I think, as Judy mentioned, that the industry is now on board with the timeline. And just to your point before about coming up with reasons for doing inquiries, from a regulatory standpoint, you see abnormalities in trading, and you don't really know what you're looking for. And it's very difficult to say, I'm looking specifically for an insider trading violation or this. You need to be able to look at the data, to analyze the data, to see when there are atypical patterns in there. So I think it's very difficult up front to put in a reason why you're doing it.
And I didn't get a chance to ask you, Mix McDonald, but maybe you could submit for me some of the, you don't have a vote on the operating committee. Are there structural governance changes we can do to improve this process? I'd simply say, Mr. Chairman, you raise, I think, appropriate questions about PII. I think there's a way we can sort through this. I think the net benefit for protecting the system will be of enormous value for oversight. And I frankly think that some of the folks who are part of the market manipulators, they've gotten substantially better since 2010. So I think we got a healthy tension here, but I look forward to working with you, and I appreciate the ranking member's comments at the front end in terms of how long this has taken, and completely agree with his earlier comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.